Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting right into it, talking about those common money mistakes that seem to trip almost everyone up. We're going to break down the biggest pitfalls and maybe more importantly, start thinking about how to build a way stronger financial life, starting right now.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We've broken it down into 4 main ideas that kind of build on each other. Starting with the small, everyday stuff and ending with the big picture thinking that can really change the game. Let's dive in.
So let me ask you this. Do you ever get that feeling, that nagging sense that you're just not getting ahead with your money, maybe even falling behind? It's super stressful. And if you've ever felt that way, believe me, you are so not alone.
And it's not just a feeling. It's a reality for a lot of people. A recent Federal Reserve survey found that a record 35% of adults feel like their financial situation has actually gotten worse over the last year. That's more than 1 out of every 3 people feeling that squeeze.
So, where does all this pressure come from? Well, a lot of the time it starts small. So let's get into our first section here, the daily money drains. It's like the old saying goes, small leaks can sink big ships.
The source material really zeroes in on 3 main culprits you see here. First, you've got those little things, the daily coffee, eating out, that don't seem like much, but man, do they add up? Then there are those subscriptions we all have, the ones you set up and totally forget about while they just keep billing you. And third, maybe the most tempting one, is that habit of just swiping the credit card for things we don't really need. A great first step here is to just track this stuff for a week. No judgment, just see where the money is actually going.
And that third point, credit, is where things can get really tricky. It's that habit of using credit for stuff you can't pay off at the end of the month. It's such a slippery slope, and it can turn a small expense into a massive headache.
And here is the number that just blows my mind, 24.62%. According to Investopedia, that's the median interest rate on credit cards right now. That number is exactly why it feels impossible to get out of debt sometimes. It's a game changer, and not in a good way.
This visual just nails it, right? This is the snowball effect in action. You start with this little, manageable purchase, but with interest rates that high, it just grows and grows until it's a huge financial burden.
Okay, so we've talked about the daily drips. Now let's zoom out and talk about the big stuff. Those huge purchases that can really define your financial life for years or even decades.
Let's take buying a car. It's so easy to just look at that monthly payment and think, yeah, I can swing that. But the source material makes a great point. Can you afford the payment or can you afford the car? Because those are 2 very different things. You have to think about the total cost, insurance, gas, repairs, and the fact that it's losing value the second you drive it off the lot.
And for what's probably your single biggest expense, your house, the source brings up this super handy tool called the 28-36 rule. The idea is pretty simple. Try to keep your housing costs, that's your mortgage, taxes, insurance, at or below 28% of your pre-tax income. And all of your debt combined, including your house, should be under 36%. So for example, if you make $5,000 a month, you'd aim for a housing payment around $1,400 and keep all your monthly debt payments under $1,800.
All right, so we've covered the here and now, the daily habits, the big buys. But what about later? What about the person you're going to be in 10, 20, or 30 years? This next section is all about the mistakes we make when we forget about our future self. And this is where things get a little scary. The experts say you should have at least 3 months of living expenses saved up for an emergency. But the reality? In April of 2024, the personal savings rate in the US was just 3.6%. That's a massive gap, and it leaves so many people incredibly vulnerable when life, happens.
Look, I get it. When you're in a jam, that 401k or retirement account can look like a life raft. But the source material is really clear. This is a huge mistake. You're not just taking out money, you're losing all the future growth that money could have made. Plus, you'll probably get slammed with penalties and taxes. It's a classic short-term fix that creates a massive long-term problem. So we've got the daily leaks, the big buys, the future worries, but what's the one thing that connects all of them? What's the one mistake that kind of enables all the others? Let's get into our final section and find out.
It all comes down to this: not having a plan. That's the root cause. And look, a financial plan sounds intimidating, right? But it doesn't have to be some massive, complicated binder. It can be as simple as knowing what's coming in, what's going out, and what you want your money to do for you. It's about having a map so you can actually make choices instead of just reacting.
And this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head.
Your financial future depends on what's going on right now. It's not some far-off thing that'll magically sort itself out. It's built on the decisions you make today. And the best part? That means you have the power to change it, starting right now.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about being honest with yourself, making a plan that's actually realistic for you. And this is crucial, giving yourself a break when you mess up. Because you will. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Just keep trying.
As we've seen, getting a handle on your finances isn't some impossible dream. It's totally doable, and it all begins with just one step. So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What is the very first step you'll take to build your